Hi there! Today we are going to do the last preparation before I can close the deck. I've been doing all these preparation before I close the deck, as it will be much harder to reach into the compartments when I have put the deck on. Having this surface here covered, it's kind of hard to get all the way in. So the last preparation that I need to do before I can close the deck, that is to paint the inside. So that is what we are going to do today. I sand with 80 grit paper to install grooves in the surface. This will allow the paint to get better grip, and the paint will stick better to the surface. As I notice some areas that are not fully covered with epoxy, I prepare a batch of epoxy to laminate those areas. I add some white pigment to this batch to pre-paint while laminating. As long as I do not add more than 5% pigment, it doesn't affect the strength. Then I laminate and smoothen out the areas that were not well covered. The day after, I need to install grooves in the newly laminated areas. I also want to paint the inside of the deck before I close it. I need to measure out where I should paint. I don't want to paint the parts that should be bonded with the hull and the deck supports. And I don't want to waste paint on areas that I will cut off. Thus, I mark the 2 clean inside surfaces that I can paint. Now I can prepare the 2-component polyurethane paint. This brand is mixed 1:1 by weight. It's a good idea to wipe clean the edges around the lid, as this will make it much easier to reopen the lid next time. If there are anything left in the sealing, you might need tools to open the lid. With some bending with the screwdriver, I get it open. After mixing, it's suggested that you let the mixture pre-cure for 30 minutes. After about 30 minutes, I'm back and stir the mixture. It floats well, so I do not need to add any solvent. So I can start painting. I start high up and move downwards to reduce the risk of the paint running, without me noticing that. Sure, there will be unevenness still, but this is the first coat, so I think I will be able to correct things. I continue around the hull. After 24 hours, the paint has cured enough. I find some areas where the epoxy layer is uneven, or where the paint has run. The smaller imperfections are sanded with 80 grit, and the larger ones with 40 grit paper. I might need to add more paint here, so I add another layer of polyurethane paint. I also add paint to the areas that I missed the first time. And I didn't have enough paint in the first batch to cover the inside of the deck. But as this is a flat surface, it might be enough with just 1 coat. Now I will let this cure another 24 hours before I check the result. If it's okay, I will stop here, as nobody is actually going to see much of the inside anyway. And I might save a few grams of weight. It seems okay with only 2 layers. So next time I will close this space by putting on the deck. Please join me then.